let me turn this volume up. There. I hope that's loud enough. I'm going to do a video on when does life begin? Okay, does it begin upon plantation, or does it begin upon conception, which means immediately when the sperm fertilizes the egg, or 5 to 6 days later, which even 5 to 6 days later is, still early enough. You could say 5 days after the sperm and the egg, and then you have an abortion afterwards. Yeah, because I'm pro-life. So I want scientific. Okay, this is from the American College of Pediatricians. When human life begins. Okay, and I'm going to read quite a bit of this, and I got definitions over here for certain words. So, okay, abstract. The predominance of human biological research confirms that human life begins at conception, fertilization. At fertilization, the human being emerges as a whole, genetically distinct individual zygotic living human organism, a member of the species Homo sapiens, needing only the proper environment in order to grow and develop. The difference between the individual in its adult stage and in its zygotic stage is one of form, not nature. This statement focuses on the scientific evidence when an individual human life begins. It has been recognized for millennia that both a paternal semen and a maternal contribution are required for the formation of a new human life. The first recorded embryological reports are in the 5th century BC books of Hippocrates, who noted from the study of incubating chicken eggs that the nature of the bird can be likened to that of the man. A century later, Aristotle studied the chicken and other embryos, but incorrectly thought that they arose from a formless mass of semen combined with menstrual blood. In 1677, Ham and I think that's Leeuwenhoek. I can pronounce Hoek because I watched Ren and Stimpy years ago. So, and his name was Ren Hoek. So Leeuwenhoek observed spermatozoa under the microscope, but thought they contained miniature humans. Spallanzani demonstrated in 1775 that both oocyte, I think that's oocyte, or maybe it's ookite. Whoever knows, I'm trying to pronounce it the best I can. The oocyte and sperm were necessary. In 1827, von Baer observed oocytes in the ovarian follicle and in the fallopian tube, and blastocysts in the uterus of a dog. Okay. I'm going to go over here. Now those two, I don't know why I didn't think of that. I want to get the definition of these. And some of you are going, well, this is what it is. Yeah, an oocyte is a cell in an ovary which may undergo meiotic division to form an ovum. Okay, and I hope you understand what that is. I'm kind of okay. Some of this stuff I'm just going to go. Blastocysts. I never heard of that. That doesn't sound good. We'll find out what a blastocyst is. I mean, we're all going to school here except for those who already know what's going on. Blastocyst is a structure formed in the early development of mammals, that dog. It possesses an inner cell mass which subsequently forms the embryo. The outer layer of the blastocyst consists of cells collectively called the trophoblast. Okay? Well, you get the idea. Something, you know. Okay. So he observed the oocytes, which is a cell in an ovary which may undergo meiotic division to form an ovum. Okay? Well, here, got this one. Okay. In the uterus of a dog. Finally, it was with the advent of cell theory developed by Schleiden and Schwann in 1839 that it was recognized that the embryo develops from a single-celled zygote. Directly based upon this observation and the knowledge that the single-celled zygote was alive and an independent being. In 1859, the American Medical Association published a statement strongly opposing abortion, particularly commenting on the independence of the zygote during the time between its formation and its implantation. Yeah. Life. Now, this here is not, what I'm going to say, I don't know that any of these people, if they're Christian, there's nothing here about that, but these are doctors, scientists, who are finding out the truth. And I know some people out there, they're all about science. Okay, they essentially worship science, and then they'll tell you that abortion's fine. So, now this here is its formation and its implantation. The formation is when the cell is the sperm and the egg combine, and then I think there's another part here that I was reading. Maybe it's down here where a membrane, a thin membrane goes around, so the rest of the sperm can't get in there, But then later on, like 5 or 6 days later, you have what's called implantation. Although the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology in 1965 attempted to redefine conception to mean implantation rather than fertilization, medical dictionaries and even English language dictionaries, both before and after 1966, defined conception as synonymous with fertilization, sometimes via the intermediary term of fecundation. Ah, yes, fecundation. Fecundation is the act of fertilization. All right. Moore's 1974 edition of Human Embryology textbook states that development is a continuous process that begins when an ovum is fertilized by a sperm and ends at death. It is a process of change and growth that transforms a zygote, a single cell, into a multicellular adult human being. Moore's 2008 edition emphasizes that development does not end at birth but extends into early adulthood. Professor Emeritus of Human Embryology of the University of Arizona School of Medicine, Dr. C. Ward Kisher, affirms that every human embryologist worldwide states that the life of the new individual human being begins at fertilization, conception. Even authors who philosophically lean toward not attributing the same value to human life at the one-cell stage as they do due to later stages of development, admit that as far as human life per se, it is for the most part uncontroversial among the scientific and philosophical communities that life begins at the moment when the genetic information contained in the sperm and ovum combine to form a genetically unique cell. J.T. Eberl goes on to say that this is really the debate. Well, when the sperm and the egg meet, you have the 23 chromosomes from the father and the 23 chromosomes from the mother come together, and now you got 46. There is the beginning of life. Okay? And as a Christian, I don't know when the soul comes in. I'd say that right at that moment. Now, I don't know if it comes in later. But we're not talking about that right now. Technically, you could say we are, because I believe that with the spirit, that that is where life begins. Because if your spirit is not in you, you don't have any life. So, of course, people will make arguments. Well, then there is no spirit and whatever. We're just mammals, and you're a monkey, and I'm a gorilla, and all that stuff. But all right, nonetheless, one could sensibly make the case that personhood can only exist in a living human being, and that division of these two entities is arbitrary at best. All right, let's go down here. During the first 24 hours, once the sperm and egg bind to each other, the membranes of these two cells fuse, creating in less than a second a single hybrid cell, the zygote or one-cell embryo. To protect his or her bodily integrity, within minutes the zygote initiates change in its ionic composition, releasing zinc in a spark that induces egg activation, first modifying the surrounding zona pellucida. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that means the thick transparent membrane surrounding the mammalian ovum before implantation. Okay? And that blocks further sperm binding to the cell surface. Cooperation between sperm and egg components to achieve replication of DNA, cell division, and growth occurs as maternally and paternally derived factors in the zygote begin interacting with and chemically modifying each other to initiate the final round of meiotic division in the maternally derived nucleus to enable DNA replication. Finally, the nuclear membranes of the pronuclea break down, called syngamy, technically pronuclear membranes. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just gonna, this here is a lot of what happens during that time. But here you go. Here is it. The predominance of human biological research concerns that life begins at conception, which is fertilization. Okay? Okay, let's go over here. These are doctors now that are scientists attest to life beginning at conception. Okay? Dr. Alfred M. Bongianni, I hope I pronounced that right, professor of pediatrics and obstetrics at the University of Pennsylvania, stated, "I have learned from my earliest medical education that human life begins at the time of conception. I submit that human life is present throughout this entire sequence from conception to adulthood, and that any interruption at any point throughout this time constitutes a termination of human life. I am no more prepared to say that these early stages of development in the womb represent an incomplete human being than I would be to say that the child prior to the dramatic effects of puberty is not a human being. This is human life at every stage." Dr. Jerome Lejeune, professor of genetics at the University of Descartes, is that how you pronounce that? Descartes or whatever? Or maybe you say Descartes in Paris. It's Paris, so that sounds good. Was a discoverer of the chromosome pattern of Down syndrome. Dr. Lejeune testified to the Judiciary Subcommittee, "After fertilization has taken place, a new human being has come into being." He stated that this is no longer a matter of taste or opinion, and not a metaphysical contention. It is plain experimental evidence. He added, "Each individual has a very neat beginning at conception." Professor Jaime Gordon, Mayo Clinic. "By all criteria of modern molecular biology, life is present from the moment of conception." Professor Micheline Matthews Roth, Harvard University Medical School. "It is incorrect to say that biological data cannot be decisive. It is scientifically correct to say that an individual human life begins at conception. Our laws, one function of which is to help preserve the lives of our people, should be based on accurate scientific data." Dr. Watson A. Bowes, University of Colorado Medical School. The beginning of a single human life is, from a biological point of view, a simple and straightforward matter. The beginning is conception. The straightforward biological fact should not be distorted to serve sociological, political, or economic goals. So that's all I'm going to do. I mean, you could keep going and going and going. But life begins at conception. Okay? It's not just a lump of cells. It's a life. Because, like I said, you have 23 chromosomes from each parent that make 46. Now you have life. And and I'd say, I don't know. I know that in I'm not going to use a Bible. I'm going to use a Bible verse, but I'm not going to go into the Bible and put it up. It said, David said that God knew him in the womb. He knit him together. Okay, and no, God didn't actually go in there and knit him together. So all of you people who want to make fun of that, forget it. But I just wanted to make this video. Let's see. I have this. The U.S. abortion rate continues to drop. Once again, state abortion restrictions are not the main driver. Okay, abortion restrictions were not the main driver of the decline in the U.S. abortion rate between 2011 and 2017. Rather, the decline in abortion appears to be related to declines in births and pregnancies overall, which I'm going to say this, that's sad. That's sad that just because pregnancies declined, that abortion declined. Because, I just want to give you a little perspective on this. And this here is, a bit disturbing. The number of abortions fell by 196,000. Well, right there. That's crazy. A 19% decline from 1,058,000 abortions in 2011 to 862,000 abortions in 2017. Okay? Now I'm going to say something here. I was thinking about it. God, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say this. But some people will say, well, what about rape? Okay? I can't understand what you go through when that happens. I, as a male, don't understand what goes through these guys' minds. It's a power thing with them. I don't know, maybe a woman took them across or hurt them or whatever, and now, it could be their mother. Sometimes that's it, but there's no excuse. But I'm going to say this, and I'm sure some of you that see this might get irritated. Really irritated. It's not the child's fault. That child is an innocent victim, just like you. And with the evidence, that life begins at conception. If you go ahead and you have an abortion, now you added murder to what happened to you. Now, I'm going to say this. If you would have went out, you would have shot that guy dead who raped you, I would not hold that against you. I think it's sad that you probably would get in trouble, which you would, and I'd hope that they'd be extremely lenient on you considering what happened to you. But I'd be like, yeah, well, he had it coming. I mean, I personally think that people like that are on, you have these serial rapists, I think it's time to castrate them. But getting back to the child, I heard of women who were raped and they let the pregnancy go and had the child and raising the child. And like I said, I have no clue what you were going through. Just to think, and that would be an extremely tough thing. But adding murder to now what you're going to have to deal with. Okay? You know, that ain't good. But, you know, I just wanted to add that. You know, like I said, I'll probably get, some of you might agree, some of you hate me for saying that, but I'm not saying it to be, you know, totally disrespect what happened to you. I pray for you. You know, it'd be nice if that crap wouldn't happen, but unfortunately you got screwed up people out there that, you know, just want to deal with their problems in the wrong way. Okay, but anyway, this is just going to be a short video. Life begins at conception. Abortion is, you know, abortion is murder. Plain and simple. So, that's pretty much all I got right now. And, yeah, there we go. Got the right one. So, that's pretty much all I have right now. Took a little longer than what I wanted to. But, you know, I can put the link in the description to these 2 articles with the doctors and everything. And I'll put that link down there. And until next time, this is David Kramer. This is Kramer Unstuck.